Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I hope everybody is safe and sound and everybody is able to listen to me. I hope I am audible to you. Could you please confirm that in the chat box? Or you can just leave a reaction where you can give me a thumbs up that you can actually listen to me so that I know I'm not talking to myself. I understand today we have a constraint. There is a problem of internet and many other factors are there that might hinder your connectivity and my connectivity as well. So we have to go through this together. So make sure that you are able to listen to me. And if you're not, I'm trying to record it. Well, in the last class, I was not able to record it. So this time I've decided to record it on my phone as well, so that the at least voice is being recorded. So in today's class, we are going to talk about the poetess Christina Rossetti. Christina Rossetti is only female poetess that we have in our course outline. So we'll be talking about her. We'll wait for another 1 to 3 minutes for everyone to join in because I can see 24 participants right now, which is not half of your entire class. So let's wait for another few minutes so that everybody is here and we can, you know, um, continue then after a few minutes. Meanwhile, let's read the we can biography of Christina Rossetti. Let me attach the reading. I'll be reading from somewhere so that you can follow it yourself as well. Let me see. This must be posted in your Google Classroom. If it is not, then I will post it later. Okay, so this is the study that I'm referring to. Is it visible? Yeah, some of you might not be able to see it, so that's okay. You can listen to me. Sometimes ऐसा हो रहा है आज की क्लासों में कि बच्चों को दिखाई नहीं दे रहा, but that's okay. So Christina Georgina Rossetti, her full name is Christina Georgina Rossetti, and she's one of the most prominent women poetesses of 19th century. She was born into a family of poets and artists, and she was a devout religious woman, and she did not get married because of religious differences that she faced with those two proposals that came her way, I'm sorry. Much of her poetry is definitely religious, and she was a teacher at some point of her life because financial constraint hit her hard. So she had to work with children and fallen women as well. Fallen women were those women who were pregnant out of wedlock. Either they were the prostitutes or they were having illegitimate relationships. So these things were very much prominent in his write-up. The three poems that we are going to discuss, they have two of them are having very similar kind of themes and the tensions and the stance as well. The third one is also about patriarchal society and objectification of women in the society. And there are some research articles which state that Christina Rossetti is a true feminist in many layers. So we can take her as a feministic kind of a voice which was there in Victorian age. In order to understand Christina Rossetti, we need to understand that she came from a family which was a very good family. They went along good. उसकी family उसको काफी support भी करती थी, but because of some problems later on, she had to work at a very young age. I think 14 years old only she had to work, and therefore she couldn't complete her studies. She was very much fond of few of the writers from Romanticism, such as John Keats, and then she was a big fan of Philip Larkin as well. Another prominent point that you should remember about Christina Rossetti is that she has written a book for children in which you will find a lot of rhymes. She has written multiple collections of poems over the years, and she was associated indirectly with this movement of pre-Raphaelite in art, which was um, um, a very prominent movement in art. However, her brother Dante Gabriel Rossetti was directly linked to it this movement, but she was not. And as you remember, as you know already, that women were not supposed to take part in political things and they were not part of movements. But she has written some poems which might come under the same thematic landscape that were there in pre-Raphaelite movement of art. After his death, she lived a secluded life. Who's this his? This is his brother. When he died, she lived a secluded life and she died of cancer in December 1894. And the three poems that we are going to discuss today, we are going to do it as quickly as possible. The detailed study has to be done by you, as you know that. However, I would like to highlight that she was always suffering. She was sick since the very beginning when she was a child. जब से मतलब बच्ची भी थी तब भी वो बीमार ही थी. तो whenever she's writing these poems, she's either thinking about death or hypothetically she's dead. कहीं ना कहीं death का जो आपको theme है वो बार बार नजर आने वाला है. So this was a little introduction of Christina Rossetti that I wanted to share with you. यहाँ पर इसकी डिटेल आपको biography मिल जाएगी कि Rossetti has two brothers, William Michael and Dante Gabriel. Dante is very much famous, and he was part of the Brotherhood, which was pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. These were the people who were group of artists, poets, and critics, and they studied art and they were studying nature in close detail by choosing subjects that they thought were morally uplifting. So morality is another important perspective in the eyes of Victorian poets and artists and critics. Remember, of course, Romanticism also saw individualistic thought process, that the theme of individualism was there, the theme of nature was there, the theme of subjectivity was there. You will find those things in Victorian poetry as well, but Victorian poetry and romantic poetry is different from each other. Romantic poetry has an individualistic thought process or touch with it, which is highly influenced by personal and very subjective इमोशंस. यानी हर पोएट जो रोमांटिसिज्म में था वो अपनी पर्सनल लाइफ को डिपिक्ट कर रहा था या अपने एक्सपीरियंसेस पे वो फोकस कर रहा था. बट वी इफ वी टॉक अबाउट विक्टोरियंस, विक्टोरियंस वर more of a collective and very we can say logical kind of poets. They wanted to always talk about something that is more important for them and something that can benefit the entire nation, tribe, or people that they were associated with. If you remember, Victorian age saw middle class rise to its peak because middle classes were educated and they were getting what they wanted. Now, they did not want their individual. अब देखिए, अगर मैं एक सिंगुलर पर्सन हूँ और मैं अपनी फीलिंग्स एक्सप्रेस करना चाह रही हूँ और मैं एक्सप्रेस कर रही हूँ, तो मैं एक रोमांटिक हूँ, बेशक मुझे गवर्नमेंट पसंद करे या ना करे. ये जो विक्टोरियन एज में जो पोएट्स एंड राइटर्स एंड आर्टिस्ट एंड क्रिटिक्स हैं, दे वांटेड द इंटायर स्टार्टा ऑफ अ सोसाइटी, a group of a society or a class of a society to be accepted by the government and everybody in power. So इनका जो इंडिविजुअलिज्म का पर्सपेक्टिव है वो एक पूरी क्लास सिस्टम को लेके. क्लास सिस्टम वाज वेरी प्रेवलेंट इन विक्टोरियन एज. तो उस वजह से ये कलेक्टिवली बहुत लॉजिकली विद एन एजेंडा दे टॉक अबाउट इट. साइंटिफिक इन्वेंशंस वर देयर इन रोमांटिसिज्म एज वेल, लेकिन पोएट्स ने साइंटिफिक इन्वेंशंस को डायरेक्टली या इनडायरेक्टली कोई ऐसी जितने भी हमने पोइट्स पढ़े उन्होंने कोई इतनी कोई उस पर खास बात नहीं की. सिमिलरली अगर हम पेट्रियार्कल सोसाइटी की बात करें, विमेन राइट की बात करें, तो रोमांटिक्स में से तो किसी ने विमेन राइट्स की बात ही नहीं की ना. यानी दे डिड नॉट टॉक अबाउट how women were treated. They only reminiscented about or became just nostalgic about what was going on. बहुत ही जेनेरिक पर्सपेक्टिव था. लेकिन जैसे ही हमने रॉबर्ट ब्राउनिंग को पढ़ा, माय लास्ट डचेस को पढ़ा, we get an idea that definitely in my last touches we have seen that the poet saw the woman to be objectified in one flavor or another. Similarly, Christina Rossetti talks about the same kind of objectification, gaze, and a problematic hierarchical structure of the society, which does not give full rights to women in terms of expressing themselves, in terms of getting their lands, in terms of everything. यानी वो patriarchal society की बात कर रहा है, sorry कर रही है. अच्छा, I do remember that we were talking about my last touches, and I think we were left with one or maybe few lines at the end because उस दिन आपको जल्दी कहीं जाना था, तो बेटे वो पोएम हम ऑन कैंपस ही कंप्लीट करेंगे, ठीक है। आज हम क्रिस्टीना रोसेटी की बात करेंगे। आई होप यू आर नॉट लॉस्ट कि मैडम को क्या हो गया और वो किधर चली गई। वो हम वहां पर जरूर जब मिलेंगे तो उसको कंप्लीट कर लेंगे। अव्वल तो वन पर्सपेक्टिव वाज ऑलरेडी शेयर्ड विद यू, तो आपको डेफिनेटली एक क्लैरिटी माइंड में होगी। जी लाइबा बताएं बेटे, यू हैव अ क्वेश्चन?
Ma'am, can you share the notes?
The
Ma'am, can you share the notes in group because I can't see anything here.
Okay, yes, I can. Yes, I did share this in the beginning के ऐसा होगा कि आपको शायद नजर ना आए कुछ बच्चों को, बिकॉज ऑफ इंटरनेट, या मेरे एंड पे कोई इशू हो सकता है या आपके हो सकता है। तो मैं ये आपके ना व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में यहाँ पर लिख देती हूँ, तो आप वहां से देख ले, आप सुन ले, मुझे बात तो वही हो रही है। एंड आई होप ये रिकॉर्ड हो जाएगा, सुबह वाला तो नहीं हो पाया था। जी, ये जो लिंक मैंने भेजा बेटा, इसे क्लिक करोगे ना, तो यहाँ से मैं आपके साथ ये इन्फॉर्मेशन शेयर कर रही हूँ। ठीक है, चलिए व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में आपके मैंने वो पेस्ट कर दिया है। अच्छा, although some of Christina Rossetti's earliest works was published in the Germ, a magazine produced by etc. etc. Yani she was a published poetess, right? But she was not part of this brotherhood, which is pre-Raphaelites, but her brother was. So directly, indirectly, people always thought that she was connected to it. देन अगर आप इसका बायोग्राफी भी पढ़े ना, बहुत सारी इंफॉर्मेशन इसके बारे में जब भी दी जाएगी, विद कंट्रास्ट, विद कंपेयर, या ज्यादातर उसकी फैमिली की बात की जाएगी, ज्यादातर डांटे की बात की जाएगी, क्रिस्टीना की उस तरह से नहीं की जाती। एनीवे, आगे देखिए, लाइक मेनी अनमैरिड मिडिल क्लास वुमेन ऑफ दैट पीरियड, Rossetti did not marry, did not have any paid employment except at about for a year when she and her mother tried to run a day school after failing health and eyesight forced her father to retire. अच्छा, मैं आपको ये स्टोरी की तरह बता देती हूँ, पर आप खुद लीजिएगा। What happened is that Rossetti's father was mentally and physically unstable at one point of his life, and he lost his eyesight as well, so he was not able to fetch food or fetch basic necessities for his family. So what happened is that Rossetti's mother and Christina Rossetti himself, they had to work as a maid, as a school teacher, as a nurse, as a tutor in order to meet the ends. You know, तो वो सारा कुछ करते करते they went through a very happy-go-lucky family which was very religious and everything into the streets. देखिए, अगर आपको दिन रात 24 घंटे काम करना है, तो आप अपनी वो जो रिलीजियस प्रैक्टिसेस हैं उनको भी प्रॉपरली प्रैक्टिस नहीं कर पाएंगे। सो दिस these definitely these ups and downs in her life definitely had a toll on her, but her religious views were very intact by the in the end as well, because I told you that all these people, two brothers, one sister, mother, father, they were very staunch believers of Catholicism, right? Or Christina Rossetti kept her views so strong that she would read and be very much interested in all those write-ups which were devout in nature, जो डिवोशन की बात करते हैं। लेकिन अगर कोई ऐसा काम है जिसमें कुछ भी ऐसा है जो कि एंटी रिलीजन है, so she would voice that these are anti-religioustic points, and she was against those. उसके बाद Christina Rossetti was very attached to her family, and she really did love them truly and heartily. And then she fell in love with two people. Two men are mentioned in her autobiographies time and again. But then both engagements, they were broken off because of the religious differences that she had with them. So she was deeply upset about it. Later on, she concentrated on religious life more, and she secluded herself, and then she became too ill, and then she had cancer, and finally she died. If we talk about her work, most of her work is inspired by religion. Most of the work that she has produced is about the fallen women who were either prostitutes or having illegitimate children, and she expressed her understanding that she was concerned with the theme of death and love and renunciation of earthly love. Now, she is somehow considered to be a melancholic poet, and indeed, much of her work is very sad and glooming in nature, and we can definitely see the morbidity in the standards that she has maintained all her academic life or her poetic life, but definitely some of her work is written or meant for children. So वो poems जो हैं उसमें आपको ये melancholy उस तरह से explicitly शायद ना नजर आए. Now, many critics believe that one of her best works is Goblin Market, and this is the most longest poem that she has written because goblins sound as if they belong in a fairy tale. It is often put in collections for young children. However, it is really a short epic poem for adults. The most obvious qualities of writing is the exactness and sensuousness of her descriptions. अच्छा देखिए, sensuousness and exactness क्या है? अब मैं एक poetess. Yes, I have written some poems, but I'm not a poetess. I'm not a very well-known poetess. So if I want to say that I am sad because the internet was not working, the light went off, and then there were so many holidays that we had to take an online class. तो मैं अपनी ग्लूमीनेस सैडनेस को बहुत ही एक वर्सिफिकेशन मैनर में आपको बता रही हूँ. एक जो आर्टिस्टिक पोएट होता है ना, वो इस तरह से लिखता है कि पढ़ने वाला वो फील कर जाता है जो वो एक्चुअली कहना चाह रही होती है. सो Christina Rossetti was that kind of a poetess. The poems, the sonnets that we are going to discuss today are very short, by the way. They are just patriarchal sonnets of 12 lines each. और उनको apparently पढ़े तो बहुत superficial लगते हैं, लेकिन the way she has crafted them, that is something that makes them exact, sensuous, and the descriptions that she has given, they are so good. And Goblin Market में भी ऐसा ही है. बाकी उसके यहाँ पे और काम लिखे हुए. A little introduction to Christina Rossetti, that इसको Rossetti भी पढ़ रहे हैं लोग, Rossetti भी पढ़ रहे हैं, तो मैं Rossetti कह रही हूँ. तो तीनों pronunciations आप देख सकते हैं कि इस्तेमाल हो रही होंगी all over the internet. ठीक है, यहाँ तक बात समझ आ गई. Rossetti का introduction, I hope it is clear in your mind now कि she's a female poetess and she's going through many ups and downs since she was 14 years old. She has seen close handed that how people are subjugated, especially women are subjugated to violence, oppression, and objectifying. They are objectified in the eyes of men in one way or another. And Victorian age, if you remember, I might have told you that it was common for women to be a certain way. They were supposed to be at home and they were supposed to be somebody who takes care of the children and stays as at home. However, middle class rise की वजह से अकल आ जाने की वजह से many women refuse to get married to men just for the sake of money because उनको और jobs मिल जाती थी तो अब वो नहीं करना चाहती थी. तो ये जो एक कॉन्फ्लिक्ट था सोसाइटी का वो आपको रोसेटी में भी नजर आएगा. लेकिन रोसेटी का जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है इट इज मोर इंक्लाइंड टुवर्ड्स द रिलीजियसनेस जो कि लोगों में बहुत खत्म हो गई थी. क्रिश्चियनिटी वाज कमिंग एंड शी वाज अ स्टॉन्च कैथोलिक. सो वो जो डिफरेंसेस थे जो कि मॉडर्न लोगों में आ रहे थे, मॉडर्न इन द सेंस जो इससे आगे वाले लोगों में आ रहे थे या आसपास वाले लोगों में आ रहे थे, ये उनको एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर पाए. सो वी कैन ऑल्सो से दैट her life was stagnant. Her life revolved or evolved around only religious perspectives because that is only the thing that she could keep to herself. बाकी चीजें इतनी rapidly change हो रही थी that she was not able to take a hold over it. And the other thing that her parents, her brothers, and her father was not able to take care of her and her family. Therefore, she had to work when she was a child. तो वो भी एक डेफिनेटली इम्पैक्ट आप पे रखता है, एक ट्रॉमेटाइजिंग, एक साइकोलॉजिकली एक इम्पैक्ट आप पर वो बात रखती है कि इट्स जस्ट द society which works this way. It is the reason of modernization, industrialization, globalization, French Revolution, and the world wars, and everything was happening in the background. Victorian age is the best of best and the worst of worst times, says Charles Dickens, as you know already. So वो जो bestness थी वो उसको देख तो पा रही थी पर adapt नहीं कर पा रही थी. So she was she did not want to become somebody who's rootless, who is leaving her culture or religion behind. तो डेफिनेटली ये चीजें जो थी उसके राइटअप में आपको उसी तरह से नॉन कोहेसिवली, नॉन कोहेरेंटली नजर आने वाली है. आई होप नाउ यू हैव क्या कह सकते हैं, फेडेड स्केच. एक स्केच आपके माइंड में क्रिस्टीना रोसेटी का बन गया है कि वो किस तरह की जिंदगी उन्होंने गुजारी है. अब हम उनकी 3 पोएम्स देखते हैं. अच्छा, इन तीनों पोएम्स, द 3 पोएम्स दैट वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस टुडे आर वेरी मच लिरिकल इन नेचर. एक प्रॉपर पैटर्न है इसमें. तीनों पेट्रियार्कन सॉनेट्स हैं. तीनों में जो आखिरी दो लाइनें जिन्हें कपलेट कहते हैं, दे हैव अ मैसेज फॉर अस एंड डेफिनेटली वी कैन इंटरप्रेट इट द वे वी वांट. अच्छा, क्रिस्टीना रोसेट्टी की पोएम्स पढ़ने के लिए अब जो हम जिस तरह से बाकी पोएम्स पढ़ते हैं ना कि थेमेटिकली वी अंडरस्टैंड दिस इज हैपनिंग और दैट इज हैपनिंग, it is important to understand that Christina Rossetti's poems are very short. They are sonnets, and the background knowledge that I have provided to you, or the things that you already know, will aid your thematic analysis. But in order to understand her poetry, you have to get into the detailing of the word choices as well. Word choices would automatically fall under the umbrella term of stylistic analysis. बहुत ज्यादा एक्सपेक्टेशन नहीं है कि आपको सभी पता हो, लेकिन इस इनकी पोएम्स को, स्पेशली क्रिस्टीना रोसेट्टी की पोएम्स को देखते हुए यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड के इमेजरी, सिंबलिज्म, वर्ड चॉइसेस, इंडिकेशंस कैसे थीम में ऐड करते हैं. अब अगर हमने कहना है कि हर पोएम्स आर सैड, ग्लूमी एंड दे टॉक अबाउट हर पर्सनल ऑडियंस, तो हमें डेफिनेटली उस बात को प्रूव करने के लिए टेक्सचुअल रेफरेंस चाहिए. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, वन ऑफ हर द फर्स्ट पोएम इज कॉल्ड सॉन्ग, जिसका जो एक और टाइटल भी है वो है व्हेन आई एम डेड माय डियरेस्ट. व्हेन आई एम डेड माय डियरेस्ट. देखें how personal and how thematically bombarded it is, and I भी इस्तेमाल हो गया है. आपको इस तरह से इसका एनालिसिस लेके चल रहे हैं. और तीनों जो पोएम्स हैं वो सॉन्ग की तरह हैं. तो मैं आपको स्पेशली वाला व्हेन आई एम डेड माय डियरेस्ट, इसका मॉडर्न टेक हम सुनेंगे, पुराना वाला नहीं, सो दैट यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड. लेट मी ट्राई एंड अटैच, अगर अटैच हो जाए. वेट प्लीज. ओके, आई होप शेयर हो सकता है आपकी प्लेलिस्ट में आपकी जगह भी बना ले. ठीक है, आई एम गोइंग टू प्ले इट फॉर अ फ्यू मिनट्स, फॉर फ्यू सेकंड्स आई मीन. लेट मी नो it is visible and audible to you. Visible and audible to you? Yes or no?
Yes, madam.
ठीक है, चलिए.
Yes, ma'am.
Alright, let's watch it. थोड़ा सा ये बीच में बफर कर सकता है because I'm in the same boat as yourself, तो कोई बात नहीं. Otherwise it's a very, I like it, I usually listen to it as well, although I'm not able to resonate with it as much, but अच्छा लगता है सुनने में. सुनने जरा. ठीक है, आगे वो इसको रेपिटेशन देगी बिकॉज ऑफ कोर्स इंटरनेट इतना अच्छा नहीं है हमारे पास, तो यू कैन वॉच इट लेटर, वो भी देख सकते हैं. सो हाउ डिड इट मेक यू फील? मैंने अभी आपको टेक्स्ट बताया नहीं है, सो डिड यू लाइक लिसनिंग टू इट? नो?
Then the pauses due to internet connection somehow lessens the feel, but overall was good.
Yes.
Ma'am, it was calming and eerie at the same time.
इंटरेस्टिंग. दोनों है, बिल्कुल पॉजेस हैं, वो बिल्कुल मनाहिल की बात ठीक है. चलिए अब हम चलते हैं टेक्स्ट पे. When I'm dead my dearest के टेक्स्ट पे चलते हैं. Let me try and attach it. And there are no Gale studies available for Christina Rossetti because वो जो PhD student है जो usually it's called a poem and it's very deep, sometimes fun. So it is also a set tributes after her passing as she enters a state of oblivious rest. ठीक है. So when somebody passes in our real life, of course, when somebody's dead, what do we do? Do we visit their grave? Do we try to give them ऑफ कोर्स हम तो प्रे करते हैं ना, हमारे एक कॉमन है. उसके अलावा हम क्या करते हैं ग्रेव्स पे जाके? यूजुअली आपने क्या प्रैक्टिसेस देखी हैं? आई नो फीमेल्स आर नॉट सपोज टू गो इनटू ग्रेवयार्ड्स एंड उनको अलाउड नहीं होता है, लेकिन अभी कभी आप आसपास सफाई कर रहे होते हैं और क्या कर रहे होते हैं?
What? Then they usually go and pray and recite some surahs at their grave and stuff like that.
दैट्स करेक्ट. एनीथिंग एल्स जिसमें कोई फिजिकल एक्शन इन्वॉल्व हो, कुछ किया जाता है ग्रेव्स के आसपास?
दरख्त भी लगाते हैं ताकि छांव रहे.
Yes, that is one common practice that I've seen in Pakistan as well, that people want to clean the graves and they want to mark their territory. यहाँ तक है और वहां पर किसी किस्म का वो प्लांट लगाना चाहते हैं कि हमारा जो लव्ड वन बरिड है उसको छांव आती रहे। यानी उनका कंसेप्शन ये है कि ये जो छांव, जो वर्ल्डली छांव है, वो उसको अटर्नली किसी ना किसी तरह से प्रोटेक्ट करेगी। ऐसा ही है।
यस मैम।
यस मैम।
तो इस तरह की प्रैक्टिसेस होती हैं। अच्छा, मैंने कुछ और भी देख रखा है, वो मैं आपसे शेयर नहीं
मैम
करूंगी।
ब्लैक मैजिक भी होता है।
हाँ, वो मैंने ऐसी चीजें भी देख रखी है, दैट्स ट्रू। तो वो हमारा कंसर्न नहीं है, लेकिन ऐसा मैंने देखा, पता नहीं क्या क्या लोग कर रहे होते हैं। दैट इज मतलब वेरी absurd फॉर मी एंड फॉर यू एज वेल। ऐसा है, आई हैव सीन कि हमारे में तो एक कच्चे पक्के का भी कॉन्सेप्ट है ना, कि उसको कच्चा रखना है कि पक्का रखना है, कि इस तरह करना है कि उस तरह। हमारा तो इस्लामिक पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू आ जाता है ना उसमें। लेकिन नाउ लेट्स गो बैक टू अंग्रेज पीपल, द क्रिश्चियन पीपल्स, द कैथोलिक पीपल। व्हाट डू दे यूजुअली हैव कफन्स, और वो उसमें उसको बरी करके जमीन को प्लेन कर दिया जाता है, और उसमें एक स्लेट सी लगा दी जाती है जिसपे उस बंदे का नाम और कोई इंपॉर्टेंट कोटेशन हो सकता है या समथिंग लाइक दैट, या कुछ ऐसा लिखा होता है, इन द लविंग मेमोरी ऑफ कुछ भी, डिपेंड्स। आपने वो इंग्रेविंग्स शायद मूवीज में देखी होगी किस तरह की होती है। तो इस पोएम में आपको इस तरह की कुछ ना कुछ प्रैक्टिसेस का पता चलेगा कि किस तरह से है। अच्छा, यहाँ पे एक और पॉइंट लिखा हुआ है कि शी इज एन इंग्लिश पोएटेस ऑफ कोर्स, एंड शी वाज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट पोएट्स ऑफ द विक्टोरियन एज, एंड हर मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट वर्क इज गॉबलिन मार्केट एंड अदर पोएम्स। ठीक है, ये जो एनालिसिस है ये हमें करके दिया है एंड्रयू वॉकर ने। ठीक है, अभी ये ऑनर्स इन प्रोफेशनल राइटिंग एंड कम्युनिकेशन का स्टूडेंट है, historical studies पे वो काम करता है। Now, he does not start with the introduction to the poem. He tells us that how an artist, a poet, somebody who is not a common person, of course एक artist जो है वो common नहीं होता, उसके सोचने समझने फील करने की सलाहियत या capacities, they are more heightened as compared to somebody who does not have an eye or taste for art. So he starts by saying that art typically works best when an artist wishes to express an abstract concept. The concept has to be something that is not so common. But you and me, we can come to one safe conclusion that the topic that Christina is trying to discuss in this poem is quite simple and very common, but the way she projects it is the important and provoking point that we have to discuss today. One that cannot be easily defined by casual languages. There is no point, for example, in writing a poem about feeling sad, because there is a simple word for that particular emotion. A poet will describe their feeling of sadness in such a way that the reader understand exactly how and why they are sad. Okay? यानी such poems would have the capacity and the range to impact the readers in such a manner that their emotions are heightened and they want to get involved into the entire process. And this particular lyric that we are going to discuss right now actually starts with a very interesting dearest. We have two stanzas जिसको usually analyses में जहां भी मैंने देखा है वो verse कहते हैं, but we'll take it as stanza. Each stanza has 8 lines. Now, I'll just read it in a very simplest way, and I want you to tell me कि आपको इसको पढ़ने के बाद, background जानने के बाद क्या ही समझ आती है। सही है? When I'm dead, my dearest, sing no sad songs for me. Plant thou no roses at my head, nor tree shady cypress tree. Be the green grass above me, with showers and dewdrops wet, and if thou will remember, and if thou will forget. Second stanza is, I shall not see the shadows, I shall not feel the rain, I shall not hear the nightingale sing on as if in vain. And dreaming through the twilight that doth not rise nor set, happily I remember and happily may I forget. अब वो हैप्पीली नहीं कह रही क्योंकि उसने उसको एक लिरिकल टच देना है। सो बाय जस्ट रीडिंग द टेक्स्ट इटसेल्फ क्या आपके माइंड में आता है कि क्या बात हो रही है? Who would like to share?
मैम वही डेथ की बात हो रही है, बिकॉज यू मेंशन कि शी वाज सिक मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम, तो वो डेथ के बारे में सोचती रहती थी।
हाँ, लेकिन ना look at the first hypothetical verse, first line. When I am dead, my dearest, sing no sad songs for me. The first 2 lines clearly tells us that she is in fact alive, but she's thinking about once she's dead, and this is what she wants her dearest to do. अब my dearest में definitely it could be a beloved, it could be a father, a brother or something like that. हम यहाँ पर beloved इसलिए लेंगे क्योंकि हमें autobiography से पता चल चुका है that she had two not affairs but two proposals and offers, and she was in love with them, both of them, but she couldn't get married or take a step forward because she was too religious and she could not take in a difference of opinion in terms of religion. So when she says, "When I'm dead, my dearest, sing no sad songs for me." Usually, जो क्रिश्चियन या कैथोलिक burials होते हैं उसमें यूलोजीज होती हैं और लोग जो लव्ड वंस होते हैं वो आकर किसी किस्म की स्पीच सर्मन सा देते हैं, तो वो कह रही है कि डोंट सिंग सैड सॉन्ग्स फॉर मी व्हेन आई एम डेड, व्हेन आई एम गॉन, डू नॉट थिंक ऑफ मी, डू नॉट सिंग सैड सॉन्ग्स फॉर मी. Plant thou no roses at my head, nor shady cypress tree. ये cypress tree का reference वही है कि there is no need to plant any cypress tree around my grave, around my resting place, because I don't want it. क्यों नहीं चाहिए वो अभी हमें पता चलेगा in the later stanza. And plant thou no roses at my head. So she doesn't want her dearest to plant roses at her head, not actually her head, जो उसका असली head है. She means to say that there is no need कि जहां मैं फाइनल अटर्नल रेस्ट कर रही हूँ वहां पे तुम प्लांट्स या रोजेस को लगाओ, जैसे कि हमारी प्रैक्टिसेस में भी मैंने देखा है होता है. Be the green grass above me with showers and dewdrops wet. If we compare and contrast grass versus flowers, grass has more capacity to endure harsh weathers, harsh realities of life, क्योंकि ग्रास जो है वो खुद ही ग्रो भी कर जाती है, सर्वाइव भी कर जाती है, and they need a certain condition to move forward in their life. जी, somebody raised their hand. जी बताएं.
मैम इधर हेड का मतलब वो टोम्बस्टोन हो सकता है जो
हाँ हाँ,
ग्रेव का है.
absolutely, ऐसा ही है. वो जो टूम्बस्टोन होता है जिसपे मैंने आपको ना एक स्लेट सी बनाते, पाकिस्तान में भी देखी है मैंने, बन जाती है, अब लिखा होता है उस पे जोरजा एक्सेट्रा जो भी है, लेकिन अंग्रेजों की थोड़ी सी डिफरेंट होती है, वो आपको पता होगा. नहीं तो आप विक्टोरियन एज ओपन करके देख लेंगे ग्रेव्स किस तरह की होती थी, तो आपको एक आइडिया हो जाएगा, रफली आइडिया आपके माइंड में आ जाएगा. सो उसी को हेड रेफर कर रही है कि वहां पर Christianity or any flavor of this religion that we have been referring to in English literature, they bring flowers, white flowers, red flowers, flowers रख के वो उस ग्रेव पर जाते हैं. तो वो उसकी बात कर रही है कि वो रखने की जरूरत नहीं है, एक शेडी साइप्रस ट्री प्लांट करने की जरूरत नहीं है. जस्ट बी दैट ग्रीन ग्रास above me that has dew drops as well, which can endure the rain as well, which can endure the sunlight and harsh realities of life as well. So if we compare flowers with these green grass that she's saying, so she ends her first stanza by saying, "And if thou will remember, and if thou will forget." So she's not sure, and she does not want the dearest to be clinged or stuck upon her when she's dead, because she does not want to give her dearest a condition कि when I'm dead, once I'm dead, you have to remember me for sure. She's saying she's not sure whether you'll remember me or forget me, and she doesn't mind it at all because she's dead. But she just wants that person, that my dearest, जिसको वो रेफर करती है, उस dearest को, उस beloved को वो ये कहना चाह रही है that just be that green grass. Green grass can come or grow anywhere and everywhere. उसके पे dependent है. Let me tell you, I again a reference to my personal life that I have multiple cats and वो छत पर बहुत रहती हैं और उल्टे सीधे काम भी करती हैं. बिकॉज ऑफ दैट उल्टा सीधा काम देर आर ग्रास. अब वो जंगली ग्रास है या अदरवाइज ग्रास अपने आप बहुत लिमिटेड स्पेस में, बहुत लिमिटेड मिट्टी में भी वो बन जाती है. तो ग्रास इस तरह की है कि वो प्रेवलेंट है, इट इज इनफिनिट, इट डजंट हैव टू हैव अ बाउंड्री. ऑन द अदर हैंड फ्लावर्स एंड साइप्रस ट्री वो एक ही जगह रहेंगे, 5-6 फ्लावर्स होंगे, ट्री जो है वो बड़ा हो जाएगा, लेकिन ग्रास स्प्रेड हो जाती है. दैट इज व्हाट she wants her dearest to be, an entity over her that is going to spread across her grave and her resting place. Then the second stanza starts by saying, "I shall not see the shadow, I shall not feel the rain, I shall not hear the nightingale sing on as if in pain." So she says that even if you plant and do all those things that she has just enlisted that you must not do, I will not be able to enjoy the shadow that shady cypress tree will provide for me. I will not be able to enjoy or feel the rain on my skin that will be there. I will not be able to hear the nightingale singing a sorrowful song because my human faculties won't be working, because I won't be on the earth. So this insinuates that she is already upset or worried about life after death, what will become of her. She's not sure, of course. Nobody's sure that what will happen after death. So she's saying, I will not be feeling these shadows, rains, and nightingale songs. So there is no utility of it. And dreaming through the twilight that doth not rise nor set. So dawn and dusk का भी उसको पता नहीं चलेगा. She won't be able to know कि दिन हो गया कि रात हो गई, because she will be in her eternal place and resting place, graveyard. Happily I may remember, and happily may forget. So she's again unsure, uncertain whether she will remember it or she will not remember it. So she is just giving one simple message in the entire poem, that do not do these things, do not plant roses or cypress tree over my head, just be that green grass and showers dewdrops which are wet, because I might not remember it and I might forget it, right? दोनों दफा वो कहती है, लेकिन the reason she says this, because she's not going to be able to enjoy the shadows, the rain, the nightingale, and she won't be able to understand or look at or feel twilight, whether it sets down or comes up. So that is her concern, that what will become of her once she's dead. She's very much alive when she has written it. Have you understood the poem?
Yes, ma'am, but
Yes, ma'am.
बहुत simple नहीं.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, यही बात है कि ये बहुत सिंपल है. Now let's get into something that will make it a little difficult, जो कि है इसका stylistic analysis. और ये इसी तरह से है ना, क्योंकि एक woman poet 19th century में पहली दफा लिख रही है, तो definitely इसमें ये आपको थोड़ा सा simplicity as compared embedded है या ज्यादा focused है उससे आप इसमें जैसे songs वो इस तरह के रेपिटेशंस को यूज कर रहा है टू प्रोवाइड अ ये सॉन्ग सा सुना सा लिरिक, वो काम इफेक्ट किस तरह से प्रोड्यूस हो रहा है वो इस रेपिटेशन की कहानी है जो मैंने आपको बताई है. लेकिन देखिए यहाँ जो एक्सप्लेनेशन दी हुई है, बी द ग्रीन ग्रास अबव मी, ग्रास इज अ प्लांट दैट कैन बी stepped on, drowned in rain or put through drought and continue to grow. So वो चाहती है कि when I'm dead now, I don't want you to be stagnant self. I don't want you to be to I don't want you to be the flowers resting on my tombstone. I want you to be the grass. I want you to be that grass that can continue to grow and move on with his or her life. My dearest is a reference to his beloved. Message है इस poetic persona का कि मेरे जाने के बाद भी you have to be that grass जो जिंदगी में आगे चलती चली जाए. So that gives this analysis a little flavor जो आप अपने analysis में लिख सकते हैं. उसके बाद Rossetti very much embodies this idea that grief is personal, and it only depends on the dearest that she has referred in the very first line, whether the dearest wants to keep this grief or wants to move on. And she actually tells that beloved that you should move on. There is a message, an underlying message. Second verse, yeah, second stanza में more painful songs from the nightingale. Now, all these repetitions of no words leaves an impact that is dark and negative in nature, and every word, for example, shadows, rain, painful, it definitely leaves an image that is an image of tears, influence over the readers. And repetition is used to make a meaningful effect over here, where she says, shall not multiple times. And the unfathomable nature of death to the living is another strong theme echoed throughout the poem. The transient nature of life, that life must go on. Even if she's dead, his stop or stick to one point like a cypress tree, like a shadow, like a background. Embody करती है, embark करती है, manifest करती है by telling. In the second half of this particular stanza, the second stanza, the tone changes to something that's as compared to the first one. पहला stanza में हमें clearly पता चल रहा है कि वो अपने tombstone की बात कर रही है और एक message दे रही है. लेकिन second में it is almost as if she's dreaming, and the images are very vague and confusing. Now, the conclusion may be remember exactly what is there in their mind, whether it is focused on life after death, or mortality, or death itself, or life itself. So वो कंपेनियन की बात करना चाह रही है, या जो जिंदगी या जो पर्सपेक्टिव उसने मरने के बाद गुजारना है उस पर फोकस करना चाह रही है। ये सब कुछ बहुत अनक्लियर है इन द सेकंड स्टैंजा. It is treated as such in the text, but the first verse suggests that while the speaker is not entirely prepared to conceive of death as a good thing, it is certainly inevitable. Death is a friend.